Today I'm going to talk about how to deal with workplace bullies, 5 things that you must do to successfully deal with workplace bullies. My first important guidance is to stand your ground and to know who you are as a child of God. To successfully deal with any bully at the workplace, you must stand your ground and know who you are as a child of God and refuse to be intimidated by anyone. Remember, a bully is a person who habitually seeks to harm or intimidate those who they perceive to be vulnerable. And you must also remember that as a child of God, you are not subject to anyone whatsoever, and you are not a victim. You must be very established in your identity as a child of God. And you must know that you're valuable and you're important. Never see yourself as a victim. You see, bullies can only prey on people who they can intimidate. And for you to successfully deal with any bully in the workplace, you must know who you are and be grounded in your identity as a child of God. And you must always remind yourself of who you are as God's child. You see, reminding yourself of who you are as God's child also helps you establish that you're going to handle and deal with workplace bullies God's way. And Jesus is our example as Christians in all things. While Jesus Christ was on the earth, he handled bullies. He handled people who attacked him and people who challenged him. But Jesus Christ successfully handled even the most challenging people. He did this with a great deal of wisdom. He always knew who he was, and he was also absolutely secure in his identity as the Son of God. My second key guidance on what you must do to successfully deal with workplace bullies. You must guard your heart, and your confidence must come from who you are as God's child. You must maintain 100% confidence in God. And this means that you never look to anyone for affirmation in any circumstance. Remember, people who are bullies prey on people who they see as vulnerable. It is impossible to intimidate anyone who is confident. You see, as God's child, your confidence must come from God. It is impossible to be intimidated by anyone when you are secure in your identity as God's child. Intimidation is absolutely impossible when you refuse to be vulnerable and you also refuse to be a victim. Again, Jesus is our example as Christians. And when he handled Pharisees and the scribes and the people who challenged him and people who came against him, these people challenged his identity. They came against who he was, and they also spoke harshly against him. But you see, Jesus never looked to any of them for affirmation or approval. John chapter 2, verse 24 to 25 says, "But Jesus did not commit himself to them, because he knew all men and had no need that anyone should testify of man. He knew what was in man." Some other translation says that he knew that the heart of man was wicked. He didn't commit himself or entrust himself to any human being. He entrusted himself only to the Father. In dealing with workplace bullies, you must be confident and secure in God. You will never be intimidated by anyone when you're rock solid in your confidence in God. Bullies only prey on people who are vulnerable. And if your confidence is in God, you will never be a victim to anyone at any given time. And my third key guidance on how to deal with workplace bullies is to set your expectations of what to expect from them. You see, if you know what to expect from them, you will know how to deal with them at all times. You see, people who are bullies are insecure and miserable. And if you understand this, you always understand how to deal with them. You see, people who are bullies are insecure and miserable. And they always try to prey on people who they feel they can intimidate. And they only do this to validate their insecurities or to make themselves feel important. Now, knowing this gives you an advantage in knowing how to deal with them. You see, knowing that you don't expect a bully to be kind or nice or even be your friend sets the expectation on how to handle them at all times. Why is this important? Anytime you know who a person is, it sets the expectation on how to deal with them and what to expect from them at all times. You see, the Bible is filled with so many pearls of wisdom that guides us on how to deal with people who are challenging and difficult. The book of Proverbs gives us so many guidance on how to deal with people who are wicked, angry, and divisive. The Bible tells us to make no friendship with a man who is given to anger, nor to a man who is wrathful, lest you learn his ways and entangle yourself in a snare. Titus chapter 3 verse 10 says, "As for a man who stirs up division, after warning him once, then twice, have nothing more to do with him." The Bible also says that whoever corrects a scoffer gets himself abused, and he who reproves a wicked man incurs injury. Do not reprove a scoffer, or he will hate you. Reprove a wise man, and he will love you. Give instruction to a wise man, and he will still be wiser. Teach a righteous man, and he will increase in learning. These key verses give you pearls of wisdom. I tell you how to deal with people who are difficult and challenging. The Bible tells you to make no friendship with a man who is angry or divisive or wrathful. So you see, the Bible guides you and tells you never to try to make a friendship with a man who is angry, divisive, or wrathful. The Bible also tells you to set some boundaries with people who stir up division. The Bible is filled with pearls of wisdom to guide you in how to deal with challenging and difficult people with wisdom. And my fourth key guidance on how to handle bullies in the place of work is to always remain professional and confident at all times. You see, you're God's child, and always maintain your high standard of being a professional at all times. Never allow how someone behaves bring you down to their level. Always be professional and be confident at all times, because you are different. You're God's child. You always want to remember that you are the professional and you're God's child. Never go back and forth with them or deal with them in their place of being nasty or bitter or try to play their games. Always maintain a professional attitude whenever you deal with them. It allows you to stay at your high level, at your high standard as God's child. Remember, you are different. And in the place of work, the Bible tells you that you are the light of the world and you are the salt of the earth. God said that you are the head and not the tail. You're always above and never below. Always maintain a high standard as you deal with them. Let it always be spoken about you and said about you that you are the utmost professional. And you may need to distance yourself and limit your interactions with them as much as possible. And only interact with them to the degree that you need to get your work done. But you also want to ensure that you don't allow any of these issues to get in the way of you getting your work done. Always remember that you are the utmost professional, and you want to do everything possible to get your work done. And if you need to limit your interaction with them to stay positive, then by all means do that. You are God's child and you are the professional, and at all times maintain your positive and confident demeanor and always remain professional at all times. My fifth key guidance on what to do to deal with bullies in the workplace. Always maintain your peace and joy. Why is this fifth point important? There will be temptation to give up your peace and joy by stooping down to their own level. Remember, people who are bullies are miserable. You have to understand this. In my earlier point, I said it's important to know who they are to understand what to expect from them. Well, in knowing who they are, you also have to understand that people who are miserable will try to rob you of your peace and joy. And nothing in the whole world is worth your peace and your joy. You've got to understand that your mental state of mind is important. Anytime you stoop down into their misery, you're going to give up your peace and joy. And your prized gift as a child of God is your peace and joy. One of the benefits that you have as a child of God is that you have what they don't have. You have peace and joy. You see, your greatest gift is on the inside. On the inside of you, you have peace and joy as God's child. And never give that up for anyone. No matter what you go through, absolutely no one is worth your peace and joy. And remaining in peace and joy is a choice. You can either choose to be in misery like them or choose to remain in joy and peace. It is a choice. John chapter 14 verse 27 says, "Peace I live with you, my peace I give unto you. Not as the world giveth, give I unto you. Let not your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid." This verse in John chapter 14 verse 27 says, you staying in peace is a choice. You can either choose to allow people who are bullies make you sad and make you remain in misery, or you can refuse to stay in their misery and maintain your peace and joy. It is a choice. And now you ask me, what if this bully is your boss? And now I'm going to tell you exactly how to handle the bully if this bully is your boss. The Bible gives us examples of people who had to deal with people in authority who are challenging. I'm going to give you guidance from the scriptures on how to deal with a bully who happens to be your boss. The story of David and King Saul is a classic example of someone who had to deal with a challenging person in authority. David had to deal with King Saul, who hated him and came against him. But you see, David knew that King Saul hated him. But one of the key things that David never did, he never disrespected Saul. He always respected Saul's position. Why is this first guidance important? In dealing with anyone who is a bully or anyone who is toxic, never disregard their position or their authority. This is important because one of the things that you have to remember as God's child, God never violates positions or authority. As God's child, God's word instructs us over and over and over again to respect authority. I want you to understand that in respecting someone's position because they're your boss does not mean that you have to relegate yourself to being a doormat. One of the things that David did, he always respected King Saul and never ever disregarded his position as the king. This is what David said. David said, "The Lord forbid that I should do such a thing to my master, the Lord's anointed, or lay my hands on him, for he is the anointed of the Lord." While David respected the authority of King Saul, David also understood that the greater person to fight for him was the Lord. I want you to understand, in respecting people in authority, you've got someone much greater to fight your battle, and that person is God. Always trust God to fight your battles for you. In Psalm 27, David turned over his battles to the Lord. This is what David said: "The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the stronghold of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? When evildoers assail me to eat up my flesh, my adversaries and foes, it is they who will stumble and fall. Though an army encamp against me, my heart shall not fear. The war will rise against me, yet I will be confident." You see, in these verses, David turned over his battles to the Lord. Even if you respect authority, because God's word instructs you to respect authority, you've got to understand that God has got your back. You've got to trust God to fight your battles for you. When you honor and respect authority, and you do this in obedience to God's word, you've got to understand that you turn that person over to God, and God is able to deal with everything you commit into his hands. God is able to fight every battle and win on your behalf. And I also want to say that if your boss is abusive or offensive towards you in your place of work, I also want to encourage you to work within the policies and procedures in your company. Most companies have policies that govern workplace behavior, and I want to encourage you to document instances of offense or even abusive, or incidences where your boss is unprofessional or abusive towards you. Most workplaces have policies that govern our workplace behavior, and I would encourage you to work within the system and ensure that you get assistance to address any violation of workplace policies. But I also want to say that if you work in a company that condones blatant abuse, it may be time for you to consider looking for employment someplace else. As a child of God, you should never be in a toxic or abusive environment, because you're God's child. And if you're And if you feel that you work for a company that condones blatant abuse, it may be time for you to prayerfully consider employment someplace else. My very final guidance is to always trust and know that God is on your side. All the guidance I've given you today is how to deal with workplace bullies from God's perspective. You see, there's always God's way of handling bullies. And anytime you deal with workplace bullies God's way, you will always win. One of the things I've said over and over and over in my teaching today, you never want to allow people who are bullies change who you are. As a child of God, you are different. You are different because God's word says you are different. You are different because you are the light of the world. You are God's special child. One of the things you want to know about people who are bullies, they are people who are in misery. Never allow anyone's misery change or alter who you are. You are God's child. You are different. Every day you go to work, hold your head high and understand that you are different. You are God's child and you're always going to win because God is on your side. Never go to work feeling defeated. Always go to work knowing that you're God's child. God is always with you. You are never alone as a child of God. I hope all the things I've shared today have helped to understand the 5 things to do to deal with workplace bullies. I want to say thank you for tuning in with me for another awesome episode of my program. Join me next week for another awesome episode of my program. Good night, everybody. Bye-bye. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe to this channel.